So now we're on to the one and only. He's come a long way. Where are you living at the moment? Harmony Terrace. But he's come a long way from when he first started off. He's now a superstar in his own right. The one and only Jonnie Corbett.
May I just say, it's been wonderful to be back in Studland for the Harvest Supper. Thank you so much for inviting me back. Really appreciated. Lovely to see so many familiar faces. And what a prestigious event this is. This year's tickets sold out faster than Glastonbury Festival. I had to get mine on the black market. And the proceeds tonight, as usual, are going to a very worthwhile cause. It's Tony's Organ Restoration Fund. And what a worthwhile cause that is. Yeah. And so many parishioners will benefit from it. So tonight we're going to pull out all the stops. Right, I'm going to compose myself now. Right, before I start, I'd just like to make a quick announcement. Unfortunately, one of the beach huts on South Beach was broken into last night, and 2 inflatable airbeds were stolen. The police are expecting the culprits to lie low for a few days. It's not going to get any better. Don't raise your expectations, please. Yeah. Okay. And tonight I'm going to tell you the joke about the man who went to the barber's. But before I start, I've just got a quick message to the person who stole my Prozac from my coat pocket in the old Harry bar last night. Whoever you are, I just hope you're happy. And last week I was invited to a barbecue up at the Glebe. Does anyone know the Glebe? Yeah, it's that lovely little housing estate just outside Studland. It was a beautiful clear night. The stars were shining, there was no wind, and it took hours to get the coals nice and hot. And once it started glowing nicely, is that what I said? We got the chicken and burgers on. Just then, Swanage Fire Brigade turned up with 3 appliances and put it out. I tried to stop them, but Fireman Sam dragged me away, said, "It's for your own safety." They then posted it all over Facebook saying how they attended a fire that was totally out of control. So we ended up going down for a pizza at Old Harry Bar. Just don't tell them about the wood-fired pizza oven. Now, I've been trying to meet more people in the village because, to be honest, I've been here for 13 years now and I've not actually made many friends. I think it might be a conspiracy. So, I took up salsa lessons here in the village hall, but I don't feel like I'm progressing. I just 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Now, I've recently been studying a conspiracy theory about the moon being made out of cheese. No, honestly, seriously, made out of cheese. I think it was started by the Illuminati. And I was going to sail around the globe, you know, just to prove it's not flat. James? Oh, he's not here. Oh, he is here. There he is. So, I was going to sail around the globe in the world's smallest ship, but the last minute I bottled it. I'm reading a book about anti-gravity. I just can't put it down. But to be honest, I don't suffer from insanity. I actually enjoy every minute of it. But if you still think we landed on the moon in 1969, then the joke's on you. In fact, I might need some new conspiracy theories because all my old ones are turning true. But now, I'm having problems at home recently. My wife never stops whining. I should never have bought her that vineyard. She told me she'd never seen the film Gaslight. I said, you definitely have. But to be... Oh, come on, keep up! Is there a delay on the PA? I'm not sure. Anyway. But to be honest, she treats me like a piece of meat. She's vegan and refuses to touch me. She told me to stop impersonating a flamingo. So, a flamingo! Sorry, it's like, I've only had one beer. Well, I had to put my foot down. I told her she drew her eyebrows too high. She looked surprised. She says I'm getting fatter, but in my defence, I've just had a lot on my plate recently. Well, yeah, to be honest, I have been starting to put on weight, but it's not really a problem because I identify as a thin person. I'm actually trans-slender. Oh dear. It's not going to get any better, I promise you. So, I went along to the doctors for a health check, and he told me my blood pressure was okay, cholesterol was okay, but I'm borderline obese. I said, borderline obese? I can't believe that. I want a second opinion. He said, well, actually, you're quite ugly too. He said, don't eat anything fatty. I said, what, like chips, cheese, stuff like that? He said, no, don't eat anything fatty. He asked me if I did any sport. I said, does sex count? He said, yeah. I said, in that case, no. Now, I got to do a little spot on the One Show, on the BBC, because you know how much I love the BBC, those of you that know me. In North Korea, they force everyone to listen to propaganda 24 hours a day. In this country, the BBC forces you to pay for it. George Orwell did warn us. So, I appeared on the One Show, and the joke that I told ended up receiving over 100 complaints. So I just hope I don't get any more tonight. But it was at that time of that terrible incident, I don't know if you remember it, it was about 3 years ago, when a woman put a cat in a wheelie bin. You remember that? It was all over YouTube. Terrible, terrible. Mind you, some people were just upset because she put it in the wrong bin. Put it in the green bin. Can't recycle that. But everyone else was angry at the sheer cruelty of it. So I was on the One Show, and they decided to do the item about the woman who put the cat in the bin. So they sent their animal expert up to Coventry, where the cat lives, and to meet the cat's family. Obviously, it's human family. The cat's family wouldn't really make very good television. Meow, 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 yeah. So the animal expert spent the day with them and to chat to its owner, feed it treats, and to groom it. And now that's a word that's changed its meaning, hasn't it? But more importantly, the segment would be 4 minutes long. Very important on a live show. But it ended up not being as interesting as they thought. So after 2 minutes, they switched back to the studio, and I get a message on my mic, in my earphone, from the producer saying I had to fill for 2 minutes. But obviously, being a professional like I am, it's not a problem. So I said, I thought it was horrendous. One of the worst things I've ever seen a human do to an animal. The most nasty, vindictive things to do. And what an awful ordeal that cat's been through. I've seen the footage 3 or 4 times now. And every time I see it, it just brings me sadness. Deep, deep sadness. But I showed it to the dog, and he thought it was hilarious. Over 100 people complained about it. So after the show, I was marched up to the producer And he said, I've got to apologise. I said, I'm not going to apologise. What do these people think? That the dog's got a YouTube channel? It's like, yeah. But in the end, I agreed to apologise. And the next day, I went back on the show, and right at the beginning, I started off, I said, yesterday we did an item about a woman who put a cat in a wheelie bin, and like you, I thought it was the most awful thing a human could do to an animal. But I would like to apologise on behalf of my dog, because he thought it was hilarious. But I have punished him, though. I chucked him in the wheelie bin, just as how he likes it. Anyway, before I carry on, I've just got some important news items I'd like to share. There was a fire in the Inland Revenue Office in central London today, but unfortunately it was put out before any serious good was done. Swanage Fire Brigade got there first. Good old fireman Sam. And Swanage Police have announced they wish to interview a man in Studland wearing high heels and a G-string. But the Chief Constable has insisted they must wear their normal uniforms. And we've just heard in the entrance to Poole Harbour, a ship carrying red paint has collided with a ship carrying purple paint. It's believed that both crews have been marooned. Sorry. I wrote it in a hurry. And the lady who fell off the top deck of the Studland ferry has been named as Eileen Dover. I think she heard about the new ferry price increases. Does anyone know why they painted the ferry red, by the way? It's like, it's just not right. I've never, I'm always used to it being blue. I think they did it to reflect the company's financial position. And a cement mixer has collided with a prison van on the Upton bypass. Motorists are asked to look out for 16 hardened criminals. A juggernaut of onions has shed its load all over the M27. Motorists are advised to find a hard shoulder to cry on. Anyway, as I said, it's lovely to be back in the village. Only yesterday I was outside Studland stores and I found a tenner on the ground. I thought, bloody hell, tenner. And I was in a bit of a quandary. What do I do with it? Do I hand it in and see if anyone's lost it, or do I just spend it? And I thought, and just then, Tony the vicar turns up. And I explained to him my sort of quandary. He said, Johnny, what would Jesus do? And I thought for a moment, and I went into Studland stores and turned it into wine. Oh dear. I do like to take life with a grain of salt, a slice of lemon and a shot of tequila. Anyway, I went to the Bank's Arms the other day, and where I was served horse. And to be honest, it wasn't great. Well, the starter was all right, but the main was terrible. Yeah, I've got that one. Oh dear. Anyway, this is a joke I was going to tell you. It's the joke about the man who went to the barbers in Swanage. And you know how they like to talk to you when they're cutting your hair? And the barber came out with a standard line. He said, are you going anywhere on your holidays? Because he was from Wales, obviously. I said, well, actually, yes, I am. I'm going to Italy. He said, don't bother. Me and the wife went there last year. What do you want to go to Italy for, anyway? Well, I said, man said, I like Italian food. And the barber says, it's all fish and chip shops. I said, well, I'm going for the sunshine. He said, when we went there last time, it rained every day. Well, he said, actually, I've got a penchant for Romanesque architecture. He said, barber says, you can't see it. They're renovating the place. Everything's covered in corrugated iron. Romanesque architecture is out of the question. So he said, well, the real reason why me and the wife want to go to Italy is we want to see the Pope once in our life before we die. And the barber says, you'll be lucky. You'll be stood in St. Peter's Square with 65 million of the faithful. You'll be lucky to see the top of his hat. I said, well, you know, so he said, look, I've got the tickets now. I've got to go. I can't get out of it. So he comes back from Italy about a month later, and he goes back to the barber's. And the barber says, aren't you the chap that went to Italy on your holiday? He said, yes. He said, how did it go? He said, well, I had a great time. I said, the food was fantastic. He said, wonderful sunshine, and the Romanesque architecture is something had to be seen to be believed. And he said, the barber says, well, what about the Pope? He said, well, I'll tell you about that. I was stood in St. Peter's Square with 65 million other Catholics, and I could just see the top of his hat when he points his bejewelled staff at me. And just then, the crowd parted, and he walked down the stairs, and he walked straight up to me, and he said, who cut your bloody hair? Anyway, I would like to thank all the organisers and everyone involved and all you participants, everyone that's come along, for putting on such a wonderful evening and plucking me from obscurity and catapulting me into anonymity. So it's good night from me, and it's good night from him. Good night. Thank you.